The Business Champion Show offers insights on business, personal growth, and more. While we share expert perspectives, it's not a replacement for personalized advice. Please consult a professional for guidance tailored to your needs.
Welcome to the Business Champion Show, sponsored by KmarEducation.org. Get ready to dive into the vibrant world of local businesses with us. We're here to chat about all things growth, health, and productivity, straight from the owners and the employees themselves. Why should you listen? Because we're spilling the beans on what makes businesses tick in our community. From awesome success stories to practical tips, we've got the inside scoop to help you level up your game. So don't touch that dial and join the party. Here is your host, Mariette Kammerer.
Hello and welcome to the Business Champion Show. I'm your host, Mariette Kammerer. You get up, get dressed, and head to work, but inside you're dreading every moment. You're not alone. Across the country, millions of people are showing up to jobs that they are draining their health, their happiness, their hope. Today on the Business Champion, we're talking about the silent cost of job dissatisfaction, how it is affecting your body, your relationships, and your future, often without you even realizing it. The silent cost of job dissatisfaction. I hate my job is our title. Our guests are Dr. Chris Gilbert, MD, PhD, and author of 8 books. And Dr. Chris has global work experience. You can catch her on the web, drchrisgilbert.com. I'll spell that for you, drchrisgilbert.com. Welcome, Dr. Chris.
Hi, Mariette. So wonderful to be with you again.
Thank you for being here today. And President and CEO of SEO Marketing, Robert Adamo. On the web, you can catch Robert, SEO Marketing Experts, nyc.com. Robert, good evening, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Mariette.
Okay. And before we get started, I have some announcements. Gallup State of Global Workplaces 2023 says 33% of U.S. employees say they are engaged at work, and there is more to report during our program. So we have more stats to share with you during the program. But first, a word from our sponsor. Feeling drained before your day even begins? You might not be lazy. You might be in the wrong job. Let's talk. info@KmarEducation.org. Also, work should be a challenge. Correction. Work should challenge you, not crush you. If you're burned out, stuck, or silently suffering, there is another way. Coach Mariette is here to help. Contact info@KmarEducation.org. And let's get started with the program. You're listening to the Business Champion Show. I'm your host, Mariette Kammerer. The silent cost of job dissatisfaction. I hate my job. So, and how job dissatisfaction manifests in the body and mind. We're going to get to that. Just imagine day in and day out, you're not feeling yourself. And every single day, something else, your body is talking to you. That in itself is just overwhelming. And you have a good idea what is happening and you do nothing about it. Or perhaps you think and you can do something about it. But once I learned, if you don't handle it, life will. Life will handle it for you. And it might not be pretty. So let's ask our Dr. Chris. Dr. Chris, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mariette. Yes, when people are not happy with their job, then comes in stress. And I've seen countless people come to my office with stress, and that was not a pretty picture. So stress triggers the body's fight or flight response, which floods the system with hormone like cortisol and adrenaline. And that's beneficial when stress doesn't last a long time. But when it lasts a long time, research shows that prolonged exposure to stress can affect the cardiovascular system, leading to higher resting heart rate, higher blood pressure, increased risk of heart disease and even stroke. Also, tension from stress can manifest as chronic headaches, back pain, neck strain, especially when people sit at a sedentary job for long periods of time. And when mental strain is high, the body's tolerance to pain often decreases, making even minor discomforts feel more intense and persistent. Additionally, job dissatisfaction often leads to poor sleep quality. Worrying about work, dreading the next day can contribute to insomnia or disrupted sleep cycles. And poor sleep will create fatigue the next day and also will weaken the immune system, increasing susceptibility to infection and also cancer. And then also another silent toll is the rise of unhealthy coping mechanisms. Dissatisfied employees might turn to smoking, excessive alcohol consumption, drug overuse, overeating, and sedentary behavior or decreased physical activity as a way to manage their emotions. And those habits can lead to obesity, diabetes, liver problems, and other long term health issues. We have so many of those in our country. And over time, the stress can contribute to serious mental health issues like depression, generalized anxiety disorder, all things that we see commonly in our private offices. And I'm so happy, Mariette, you can address those and you can help people with that have job dissatisfaction. Back to you, Mariette.
Thank you, Dr. Chris. I'm listening to every word and walking into my doctor's office, and they take the blood pressure, and I'm 150 at whatever the second number was. And I said, Doctor, I said, I'm moving and shaking a lot. It's COVID is over. So we're starting to increase business. So you got to move and shake every single day. And a small business owner can't always have two, three employees, paid employee. Can't do that. It's impossible. It's tough. So you really have to do things yourself. So you're moving and shaking and moving around. Now, how could a blood pressure be whatever the norm is, 125 over whatever? If you're moving and
120
shaking,
over 80?
the
120 over
number
80. Yeah.
120 over 80. Okay. So when you drive a car and you're in overdrive, you can't get anything done in first and second gear, not even in third gear. So in order to move and shake and handle things the way they need to be handled as a small business owner, you got to be in overdrive all the time. So, Robert, I like to ask you because you're in the same situation where you have to handle a lot of things yourself, and they may be 20 different things, 20, 30 different things all at one time, and they have to be handled.
Absolutely. And even with assistants and workers, they can bring on a certain amount of stress if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing in a timely fashion. So just because you have people helping you, if they don't pull their weight and do their job, that adds more stress. And so I actually always have to build in extra time. If I tell my employee, okay, this job is due on Tuesday, I know I need all of Wednesday in case they come to me Tuesday night and say, sorry, Rob, I couldn't finish. And now I can't be left holding the bag the next morning. So I have to always build in a day extra, which is how I've learned how to, in a sense, handle the stress or avoid the problems. Because there's been times in the past, I assume my assistant did something and I go to present the website to the client and I'm clicking the pages and showing, and all of a sudden what was supposed to be there isn't there. And, I sometimes couldn't say, oh, we're still working on that or whatever. But you can only say that so many times and do that so many times before the client loses trust, so you have to be very careful how you manage those things. So me as the owner and the leader, I have to make sure to build in safety nets along the way. So when things happen, I can just move, I can just switch to my safety net because believe me, my business is one thing, but when I've run other larger businesses and say the computers go down, you can't turn to the boss and say, "Sorry, boss, I know we wanted $50,000 in sales today, but the computers went down, so you're just not going to get that." That's unacceptable. That's not even an option. So I've had to learn to build in safety nets to prevent the stress. But when you're in a 9 to 5 job or in a routine regular job and you're not the decision maker, you can't always build in those safety nets, and you get stuck handling the stresses of the day and the problems of the business. And those are, I think, are different. That's more the short term stress, like Dr. Chris was talking about, but day in and day out, just dissatisfaction with the job. That, the more I listen to what Dr. Chris was saying, all those things combined, those things by themselves are bad enough. Having insomnia all by itself, bad enough, causes problems. Having stress at work, that by itself causes problems. Drinking too much and indulging too much and eating too much all by itself is a problem. But you combine all these problems, and it's no wonder that, we're a very unhealthy nation as a whole, because we definitely have, the last several generations have told our our kids and told our youth basically, well, you have to work a job whether you like it or not. You eat what's in front of you whether you like it or not. You do this whether you like it or not. And I definitely understand dealing with kids. 9 times out of 10, they're not going to like anything that they do. And we have to tell them, yes, you have to do these things whether you like it or not. But at a certain point, I think we do need to educate the teenage group and the, you know, pre or young 20-year-olds. You got to find a job that you love. Otherwise, it's likely going to kill you.
Right.
And that's really what it comes down to. And that's why, for me, luckily, when growing up, I I actually lived down the street from a sporting goods store that 20 years later, basically, I ended up working at. And I knew as a kid, I was like, I want to work here. Like it was the sporting goods store. What 10-year-old kid doesn't love their local sporting goods store? And it was like 15, 20 years later, I ended up working in that very store through a series of circumstances. And then, I enjoyed my job and as a store manager of a sporting goods store, but I knew there was always more there. But technology hadn't quite come around yet. But when computers
Right.
came back around, the internet came around, I jumped on that. But I needed that experience in retail and dealing with the public and learning how to run a business. And so, but I've always had jobs that I've enjoyed. They're not have always not been stressful. Even my job now, obviously being the owner, is stressful, but I wake up every day and enjoy my job and enjoy dealing with my clients and friends and family and all the
Right.
people that I help. So
Thank
that's
you,
the
Robert.
important part. Hmm.
Thank you. You're listening to the Business Champion Show. I'm your host, Mariette Kammerer, and let's get back to some stats. We already know that 33% of U.S. employees say they are engaged at work, but here it comes. 18% are actively disengaged, emotionally detached, and spreading negativity. So, and globally,
Hmm.
about 60% of workers are emotionally detached or miserable at work. So, um, And we have more, but let's talk about life outside of work. So how unhappiness at work spills into home life and personal relationships. Dr. Chris, what do you say to that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does a very important impact on personal life. So what are the impacts? Well, people can, in some cases, withdraw socially. So when work dominates their mental space, their social life often takes a hit. They will cancel plans, avoid social interactions. Um, Even things that used to be fun can feel like it's too much, or they could have emotional instability. They can have mood swings, frequent frustrations. They can have increased anxiety or depressive symptoms. They could have emotional numbness or lack of motivation outside work. Like they might stop doing things they enjoy, not because they don't care, but because they're so tired that they can't care. And also, what happens at with a family, they get irritable, they get impatient, and they can snap at a family member. And also, very often there is a communication breakdown because they're too exhausted to talk about anything beyond work. And then, as a consequence, there can be reduced intimacy. No more sex. I don't have time for that. I'm not, women need to be in a romantic set mindset. And with stress, they
Mhm.
cannot be in romantic mindset. And there can be an impact on parenting or caregiving. So the parents or caregivers can that experience job dissatisfaction, can have lack of patience with their children, with their parents, with their partner, with their pets. And then they will feel guilty about missed moments. And then they pass on the stress indirectly to their kids, to their pets,
Mhm.
because the kids and the pets, everybody they're taking care of will feel their stress, and that will be contagious in a way. They will transmit it. So it's not a pretty picture, and it influences so many people around us. If we're not happy, it's going to cascade snow cascade to people around us. So that's why it's so important to choose a work that we're happy with. And if we become unhappy with the work we chose, to have the tools to become happy again.
Mhm. I know of people who have been in their jobs for 34 years and they're not leaving because of the money. And they would have to start from scratch again. Now, just think they started in their 20s, they're now in their 50s, and they have to start up again. And they're making six figures. If they leave the job, they're not going to make six figures. They're going to start off with $20 an hour in the healthcare system. So
Mm.
that's why people hang on. They're miserable. You can't talk to them when they get home. Nothing. And you got to tiptoe around them. And yes, it's the emotional numbness. The people I come in contact with, I see big time mood swings. Some of them I even work with, and also numbness, emotional numbness. It's amazing. Mentally, they function, and you think, oh, they're really great. And then, as you work longer with them, you pick up all the other things, such as emotional numbness. And that's very, very sad. And those are
Mhm.
people that are in jobs that are helping others. They're doctors too. Those are
Mhm.
real cases I'm talking about. And and they're great when they feel wonderful and they have presence and charisma. And when they go through that mood swing tunnel, forget it. You don't want to be around them. So I see the seesaw in the person. It's
Mhm.
incredible. It really, really is. And of course, you then see them on social media too. and the people don't have to be professional people, just regular people like us. We pick up on things. Oh, she or he is not feeling too good today, but they're sitting in front of the camera and they're talking
Mhm.
to the people. And then the other videos, oh, hello, how are you? And they think they're conquering the world. This is just it's amazing. It's amazing. So
Mm,
how many people are in the helping position and they themselves need help? I guess that's normal
mm,
too, Dr. Chris or Robert. Uh,
mhm.
you know,
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, uh, some people use that helping others as a coping mechanism. Probably one
uh-huh.
of the healthier coping mechanisms, but it doesn't also mean that it reduces their stress or fixes their problem that they're coping from. So, that's definitely a thing. But definitely when people are miserable at work, then they could also make other people's jobs miserable. And I've
Hmm.
experienced that with one of the last big companies that I worked in the house for. The the accountant, he didn't like his job. He didn't wasn't a happy person. And so he caused problems between, basically the morning crew and the night crew and these people, and started pitting people against each other. And next thing you know, there was a real cancer in the 25 person business. If you got 10 people mad at the other 10 people for reasons they shouldn't even be mad at them for, it creates a bad dynamic. And so even just when one person is dissatisfied with their job, they can spread that dissatisfaction and ruin a small business very easily. So,
Yes, I
mhm,
have a couple. He is 12 years older. I've never met him, but I'm very good friends with the wife. She's in her 50s and he's late 60s. And she is full of joy and enjoys meeting people, and he's more quiet, so she tells me. So, and
mhm,
she has a hell of a time getting him out there to go maybe to a fundraiser or to enjoy other people. He doesn't want that. And his mind is already thinking going back to his country and having a more quiet life. So that also tells me he's not happy. They both work for the same company. He's
mhm,
not happy. He's just not
right,
happy. And she's too young to be settling with something like that.
right,
You, it just it has such an a lack of energy or joy for hobbies or personal growth or enjoying your husband or your wife or your children or your animals. It just, and I'm telling you, you couldn't pay me if I don't like a job, I would not be there
right,
5 days a week, eight to
right.
five. I
Well,
would not. I would
I,
not. I would get sick. I
right.
would get sick.
Well, and it sounds like, and that's what I was going to say. I mean, I'm not the doctor. Dr. Christo is, and she could probably confirm he's heavily depressed. He's so far depressed that he doesn't even know he's already past the stages, it sounds like, of just basic depression and mood swings. He's in the withdrawal, and then it becomes a chemical thing where the body just stays stuck in that mode. It gets worse and worse and worse. And how
Mhm.
how do you pull somebody out of that, though, Dr. Chris? If you just know this person just wants to withdraw from society totally, how do you
Yeah.
bring them back?
Well, I agree. We don't have the tools. I mean, we're not taught the right tools to deal with situations like this. Ideally, we would need to be taught those tools, how to look for the right job. And if you're in the wrong job, how to deal with that. We're not taught. There's no classes about that,
Yeah,
so how do you do that?
that.
I just sorry to interrupt you, Robert.
Mhm.
Um, One thing, people that immigrate, that migrate into this country, they're not always happy because there are many factors to really integrate and really love and start rooting. They may not like the language, they may not like the people, and that shows too. So they're staying with their own friends, if you will, and they never reach out to others. They live in this country or any other country for that matter, and they never reach out to the people that really live there and get to know them, the culture and everything. That's a big thing with people too. Just because they're living in a foreign country doesn't mean they will really fully integrate and are happy living there. So that's another thing to look at, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm going to go for a quick break and we'll be right back. Here's a word from our sponsor. Dreading Mondays? You're not alone, but you don't have to stay stuck. Let's explore what's next for you. Contact info@kmareducation.org. Work stress is real. It's linked to anxiety, sleep issues, and even illness. Let's get to the root of what's draining you. Contact Coach Marietta at info@kmareducation.org. And back to the show. You're listening to the Business Champion Show. We have Dr. Chris Gilbert in the house tonight and Robert Adamo. And thank you for being with us tonight. Yes, if we hate our jobs, we need to do something about it. And that's easier said than done. Um, we're self-employed. I'm self-employed for 41 years. I have a lot of stress. Sometimes I really have to immerse myself to understand what an employee goes through, what I really don't go through, which is a workplace, and they don't get along with their bosses. They have mean bosses. The people at the workplace don't get along, and who knows what all other things. So, but we got to do something about it. Dr. Chris, I'd like to bring you back in. What do
So
you think could,
what do we
what should
do,
we
right?
do? Yes.
What should we do? Well, there are different steps. And again, if people don't know those steps, it's very difficult to do anything. But the first step is self-awareness. Be aware of what is really happening. You need to have clarity. Uh, what Ask yourself, what exactly is making me unhappy? Is it the work itself? Is it the work environment? Is it your boss? Is it a lack of growth? Or is it too much work? Is it burnout? Or is it something else? So you could do journaling to reflect on, or just ask yourself what is going on. So that's very important because clarity is the first step to change. And understanding what's wrong will empower you to target it instead of feeling overwhelmed. That's the first step. Then there is emotional validation. So that means you need to allow yourself to feel what you're feeling. It's okay to feel frustrated. You don't need to feel guilty about that. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel anxious about your job. You know, and you can say, and as an affirmation, my feelings are valid. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's a signal. It's not a weakness. And then the third step is set boundaries. So create emotional and time-based boundaries. Set clear limits of how much overtime you take on. Don't bring work at home if you cannot help it, if you can help it. And so the strategy is practice saying no or stepping away from emails after hours, and use your breaks to recharge, not to catch up on more work. Then another thing that's important is reframing. Um, it's cognitive reframing. It's instead of saying, I'm trapped in this job, try reframing it and saying, this is just temporary, and I'm going to take steps towards change. So doing this, you don't ignore reality, but it helps you stay mentally flexible and less hopeless. And then what's also important is anchor yourself in gratitude. So practice daily gratitude. Even for small things at work, just find one thing a day at work that you're grateful for. Could it be a kind coworker? Could just be a lunch break? Could just be a small accomplishment. But keep a gratitude log, and that will rewire your brain to seek positive cues, even in tough environment. And then uh, just use breath work, grounding exercise deep when you have just a few minutes. Breathe in deeply, breathe out deeply, just just let go and focus on your breath. And get so that's one support system is your body, your breath. Get also other support system. So talk to trusted friends, get mentors, or get a therapist. But don't vent to coworkers. You can vent to friends because
Mm.
it's very hard to get through things alone. And so go through things with some help. And then what's important is uh micro joy moment. Just enjoy little things in your life. Inject play into your day, like listen to music while working, or decorate your workplace. On the walls, put things, pictures that you like, or take a walk outside during breaks. And then what I really, really like for myself, for others, is remind yourself of your purpose, your deep purpose. So reconnect with your values and your long-term goals. What is it that you ultimately want? What is it that you want to achieve, or what is it that you want to create? Um, so even if the job is not ideal, right now what you're doing, um, align yourself with a bigger picture. What is it that you want to do, and how are you going to get there? Just imagine the little steps that you can take to get there. That's what I suggest, and what I've done for myself at a time when life was difficult for me.
I love this. And as you're talking, I see a person at the front desk in a big corporation doing breath work, and somebody walks in and has an appointment with the big honcho, and the person is breathing and everything. This would make a good sketch if I was a comedian. Yeah.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
it's in I like to place myself into a work environment, not my own, but somebody else's work where I'm an employee. And I would be very conscious of that people are watching me, especially upper management, when I take a few moments to gather my thoughts and everything. So I think employee recognition programs, just what you said, with the content, what you said, are brilliant. Just so to make the employer aware of what's happening with the employees. So we can't always take that moment or moments for ourselves, because there's a certain rhythm in everybody's let's say at a doctor's office, they got the 20 patients sitting in the waiting room, and it's going like clockwork, boom 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 boom. Let's say it's a dentist, so it's very difficult for any link of the chain to be doing I need to do some breath work now. And I know that's not what you meant or said, but
No, no,
then
no. No, 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 Mariette, but it's very easy to go to the restroom. So, excuse me, I need to go to the restroom. And then in the restroom, you do breath work. That's just 1 minute, a couple of minutes, and that will make a significant difference, I promise you.
okay, never even thought of that, because I would be very conscious, because bosses, they look at whether you're working, or whether you're playing on the computer, or you're just sitting there just catching your thoughts. That could be very misinterpreted. So
Yeah,
I would
yeah,
be
yeah.
very conscious of that.
Yeah, yeah,
So
sorry. So yeah, I didn't mean do it in front of your boss.
no, 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 no.
But
I'm
yeah,
just saying, because
yeah.
they're so limited. People at work, they're so limited where they could go if they're if they're going to the coffee, to the cafeteria quickly. They're being watched. When are you coming back to answer the phones or get back in that um spiral of phone calls. If you're a customer service rep, you have to sign out with your phone, and they watch. Oh, it's only 15-minute break, and then you have to jump back on, being in the phone system. So I don't know what it's like in companies, and I'm going to start talking to more and more people, employees, what they're doing to rejuvenate, to reset you, because this is a reset. Go into the bathroom, you have privacy. Nobody will follow you into the stall. I know that. I know that, but I love that. Robert, I like to bring you in. Um, how do you catch your breath?
Well,
Um,
definitely, during downtime, I'll either do breath work, and I don't have anybody watching me usually, but sometimes I have to do breath work when I'm on the call with the client if they're not
breath work. I love it.
understanding. So I have to do breath work then as well. But it's basically I take my breaks when I can, and I try not to push it all day because I know at night I still have other work to do or other deadlines and things to follow up on or people on the West Coast to talk to. So I have to pace myself. But I definitely think this topic, as far as um, dissatisfied with your job, it's not only the people, the employees that are in dissatisfied jobs that they should want to get out of, but employers shouldn't want to have people that are dissatisfied with their job working for them because it makes for a toxic work environment. And we shouldn't have to be always watching every employee, and people shouldn't have to be needing breath work 20 minutes after they get to the office because it's so stressful and bad. Like that shouldn't be a thing. I know it took me several years to find a good management style when I worked at the sporting goods store, and then in other places I pretty much knew exactly how to handle people and situations and whatnot after 10 years. But in those first several years, there was a lot of ups and downs and different things. And sometimes, even though I worked for the same company for 7, 8 years, because I switched stores a lot, I had different bosses above me, and sometimes they were better than others. But if it was a toxic work environment, I just picked up the phone and was like, I can't work for this person. You send me to another store, do whatever you got to do. Otherwise, I'm giving my 2 weeks notice right now because this person's unreasonable and I don't deal with unreasonable people.
Mhm.
So, you have to basically, you have to put your foot down. And unfortunately, though, sometimes that means, it could be costly. If you do leave your job, you better be ready or have another job lined up or something to bridge the gap. And that's the toughest part. And that's why people stay stuck in these jobs. But at the same time, you can't stay stuck in a job that literally is going to kill you sooner, or at least shave 10 or 20 years off of your life and give you poor quality of life between now and the time you're done. It's just not good. And to just touch on, well, how do you fix it? Dr. Chris obviously gave a lot of great things. The one thing I could kind of come from an entrepreneurial standpoint, or just somebody who always wanted to do things that he enjoyed doing, was
Mhm.
people should look to their hobbies. If they're a great cook, they should look at going into the cooking field. If they like talking to people and helping people, they should go into the coaching or therapy field. Like, people should try to find out what it is that they're passionate about, and or what hobbies they like. I had one client, she used to make soap, And before you know it, she's making soap and candles and then teaching people how to make soap and candles and all these things. But her whole business came out of just the fact that she knew how to make soap, and that was her hobby. And so I would encourage people to look at their hobbies, look at what makes them what they enjoy, and then either find a job that aligns with that. And again, for me as a kid, I like sports. So my first main job, after just kind of little cashier jobs here and there, was at a sporting goods store. I enjoyed sports. I enjoyed helping people and talking to people and explaining to them what golf club is better than this golf club or tennis racket or whatever it might be. And so it was an enjoyable job. Although, again, sometimes I had pain in the butt bosses that I didn't like, didn't get along with, employees
Mhm.
that were difficult, and other stresses. But the job itself was a passion. I like to sell, I like to play sports. It was a perfect thing. So I would encourage people to, when they're digging down and writing that journal and what are they grateful for and all those great things that Dr. Chris mentioned, to also look at what a person's passion is and what it is that they enjoy doing, and then find jobs aligned with that type of thing. And if people don't have a lot of hobbies or know what they like, then they should go out there online. There's thousands of classes of these little things that you can learn, and then try to find a passion if you don't have a passion. But hobbies, I think, help explore that.
Right. Let me just go for a quick break. Thank you, Robert, for that.
Sure.
And then I really want to talk about hostile work environment from a legal standpoint. I just want to just briefly touch on that, even though we don't have a lawyer in the house. But let me get right back to that. So,
Mhm.
if your job is affecting your health, peace, or a sense of purpose, it's time to pause and reflect. Let's have that conversation. Contact info at kmareducation.org. Your workplace isn't your prison. Remember that. Sometimes all it takes is clarity, courage, and a plan. Coach Marietta is ready to guide you. Info at kmareducation.org. And yes, that's exactly what Dr. Chris said. We need clarity. Yes, and we also need courage. That's very, very true. You're listening to the Business Champion Show. Robert Adamo in the house, including Dr. Chris Gilbert. And I made a note. I said to myself the other day, I wonder, people are there for 20, 30 years, and then they finally have the courage to do something, whatever it may be, whatever circumstances. And I wonder if people sue employers. So, what I came up with, a hostile work environment is a legal term describing a workplace where harassment or discrimination is so severe or pervasive that it interferes with an employee's ability to do their job and creates fear, discomfort, or emotional distress. Uh, Dr. Chris, do you know of any situations where people have sued their employers? Or Robert, do you? I don't know of any. So
Oh, yeah.
maybe, really, can you talk about that?
Well, we had in pretty much one of the busiest stores in the LA area, we had a group of employees that they felt that they could get away with anything. And they they had been there for a long time, and they basically felt like they ran the store. And
Mhm.
so one day I asked the other assistant manager to tell one of the gentlemen to that we need to, instead of him doing his regular job, we need him to ring a cash register because we were short cashiers, and him being an experienced employee knows how to ring a cash register. It wasn't his regular job, but we needed him to do it because we were short. Well, he told the other assistant manager, no, not going to do that. So she comes back to me, says he doesn't want to do the job. I said, well, it's not really up to him. He has to do the job. Go back there and tell him to get on the darn cash register. This isn't like choose your job day at the sporting goods store. You do what you're told when you're told to do it. He refused again. So I told her, just you ring the cash register, I'll deal with him. I called human resources, told them the situation. They said, if this is one of the people that you've been having a problem with, this, that, the other, and now he's refusing a direct order to just ring a cash register. It's not like I'm asking him to mop floors or clean ceiling lights or do anything crazy. Just ring a cash register for a half hour or whatnot. He refused, and I had to fire him on the spot. And normally you have to have lots of paperwork over and over and over again, but there was things said and slurs and this and that and the other. And so by the time I got done, HR just said fire him. So I did. And then, of course, like a month or two later, he tried to sue us for wrongful termination. So we ended up going to a deposition, everybody telling their side of the story. And by the end, his lawyer told him, you don't have a case. You didn't do your job. Okay, I can't help you, and plus you said this, and this, which didn't help your case any. And so people can try to sue, but it doesn't mean that they're always going to win. And the company is generally, a lot of companies, they'll settle or this, that, the other, but you know it's it's a tough situation, and it's become tougher, I'm sure, over the years. I dealt with this back in like the 90s, and again, workplace protections were getting a little stricter as each year went by. During that time in the 80s, you could pretty much get away with anything and nobody said anything. But then, people started saying stuff because they were getting harassed at the jobs. And there's definitely, people should know that they should, again, not have to work in a hostile environment. And, it was, in our case, it was the management that was getting the hostility from the employees because they felt so entitled to their job and that they couldn't be fired, this, that, the other. But, at the end of the day, we had to take a stand, and one by one, we fired each of those people. And once we did, the whole work environment was much better. But, they did threaten to sue. One guy tried to sue, but that's how it goes sometimes.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you.
Mhm.
Dr. Chris, I want to talk about the red flags that we really have. Now, all of these people going to work day in, day out, they have to somehow cope with all of this. And some of them are able to compartmentalize it, and they're getting very good at it, but they're also numb emotionally then. Others drink, smoke, and eat, and whatever it is. It's a whole potpourri of different things. So they don't want to make any changes to their personal life. They don't want to downsize. Kids are already out of the house, and they have this huge house and just two people living. They're not really thinking about, maybe I should make some changes, because if I'm not at this job anymore that I hate, we have a little bit of savings. Maybe we could open up a bed and breakfast. This is just something that I'm creating here on the spot for the show. So sometimes, or many times, life has to get in the way to make them change something. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Well, that's true, Mariette. Very often people will take a lot of things because they don't want to change anything. And when it really takes a toll on their body, on their on their sleep, on their physical health, then they really have to, their body tells them they have to address the problem. And
Mhm.
usually it's pretty late, but better late than never. I think it's very important to, as Bob said, very important to find your passion in life.
Mhm.
It's critical. If you do something that you like, that you're passionate about, uh, hours will fly by with no problem. You won't pay attention to the hours. But if you do something that you hate, hour minutes will seem like an eternity. So pay attention to who you really are, what you really like, what your dream is, and try to get as close to do close to what your dream is. That's really important, and that does go with maturity. When as people mature and they spend some years doing things that they don't like, then they learn little by little. They learn, and they have mentors, and they have friends, and that's a whole learning experience.
Mhm. You
Uh,
know what came to my mind? How generations, how they talked, in the 40s, in the 50s, in the 60s, at workplace, you couldn't be talking about breath work. What are you talking about, right? You
Yeah.
just couldn't have conversations like we're having tonight. They would laugh at you because that was just poo-pooed. Everything was poo-pooed. What, you don't feel good? Get to work, you know?
Right.
Um, get to work. And but also I think this is so important how we bring up our children in everything. But just how that changed in 50, 60 years, what we focus on. And health is the number one key. And I just want to tell both of you and also our listeners, um, I'm starting up a television show in June. It's called Life's Talk with Marietta. No time to get old. And this tagline is really me. And if you're busy, if you make yourself busy and something that you enjoy, you don't have time to age. Age will catch up with you. We don't have to. You don't have to look at it. You don't have to wait for it. I hate waiting to be old. I don't have time to be old. Dr. Chris, I think we're all in the same age group, probably. We don't have time to get old. Do you have time to get old with everything that you're doing?
Age is only in people's brain. It's not real. I mean, I know people who are 90 something and they're very young at
Mhm.
heart, and they play and they have a lot of energy. And I know people that are in their 50s and they're old and fatigued and
Mhm.
they have aches and pains and chronic diseases and they're not happy. So age is only in the beholder's mind. It's what you do with your body that's important. It's what you do with your brain that's important. It's how you
Mhm.
continue to have fun in your life, enjoy life. That's what's important. But nobody who tells you that, who teaches you that.
Mhm.
And also, what I want to also address is who teaches people how to be a good leader, a good manager. Do we have classes for that? I don't know. Like, there's so many leaders that are toxic, that managers that lead with fear, with manipulation, favoritism. If people give honest feedback, they have no psychological safety. The leaders will have poor communication, mixed messages, or they would macro manage, and they can closely control every task, leaving no room for autonomy, where employees feel like they're treated like kids, or leaders don't have recognition or appreciation for their employees. I know leaders like that will not compliment their employee for what the employee has done that is so good. I mean, we need classes to teach people how to be good leaders, good managers. Do we have that? Do you know, Bob?
Well, I do work with somebody on the West Coast in San Bernardino that is their whole mantra, so to say, is, in blazing, they're called them blazing leaders. And, she's out there trying to connect leaders to each other and then to also train the next set of leaders and help people manage that whole journey of becoming a leader and then passing on their leadership skills to others to help them become better leaders. But I think the percentage is very small, and I wish there was a way I could just connect everybody and say, hey, this is everybody's got these great ideas. Everybody should just listen to us and, you know, stop doing what you're doing and do this whole new thing. It's just, it's so hard because it takes so much change to the system. Like you say, we don't have classes for this, in 17, 18, 19 years old. And, they're still teaching them, we're still in a mindset of 20, 30, 50 years ago where you have to learn 4 years of math, you need 3 years of English, you need a second language, you needed this, you needed that. But there was no class in there of you need general life skills, how to balance a checkbook, how to work towards owning a home, how to pick the right job, how to do all these things. All those things are missing, and nobody's ever tried to introduce them into the current curriculum because we're already so overloaded. We're already overloading our kids as far as making them wake up at 6, 7 a.m. to be to school by 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, work, go to school till 3, 3:30, but then you've got band practice, or you've got soccer practice, or you've got football, or you've got Boy Scouts, or you've got Girl Scouts, or you've got this thing, or you've got that event, or you've got ballet, or you've got, and so society has created such a full schedule for everybody in the name of, trying to help everybody be all things for everything, that we've really missed the fundamentals of teaching, especially again, this like 15 to 18-year-old group that, this is the kind of job you're going to want to get. This is why you want to get it. This is how you get it. This is how you find your passion. This is how you interact with bosses and coworkers and stuff, and all of that. It's missed, and I don't. I believe me. I want to figure out how to get it into the school system, because even though I've just been some computer programmer, web developer, marketer, whatever you want to call it, I've for many decades I've like, if I could just revamp the whole school system, then we could teach people things properly. But change takes so long, and unless you're the one advocating for the change, people tend to be against the change. And it doesn't matter if it's good, bad, or indifferent. If it's changing and you're not part of that, you're against it. Like, it's almost automatic these days. And but something has to change in the future. Otherwise, we're going to remain a nation of stressed out people, that whether it's our job, which then leads into, of course, a whole other show, which could be, why people commit crimes and do things that they shouldn't do. And they often blame it on a bad job or low paying jobs, or that they can't find the right job. And so the job has is such a critical piece of a person's life that we have to find a way how to teach people how to get that right job. and not
That's right.
live.
We have to keep talking about it and remind
Hmm.
people and spread awareness. So, and we're almost out of time. So,
Hmm.
today we uncovered the hidden toll that job dissatisfaction can take, not just on our work life, but on our health, our families, and our long-term happiness. We learned that stress, burnout, and even physical illness are often tied to toxic work environments or simply staying too long in a role that no longer fits who we are. I really believe in that people,
Hmm.
and then they end up complaining. We have choices, but we have to make adjustments. We have to make adjustments. So, and if we don't do it, life will do it for us. If
Hmm.
today's conversation hit home for you, don't keep it to yourself. We want to hear from you. Share your story, ask your questions, or let us know how you're navigating these changes in your life. Reach out to us at info.thebusinesschampion.com because your journey matters and you're not alone. I want to thank Dr. Chris. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Thank you, Robert Adamo. Until next time, I'm Mariette Kammerer, and good night.
Thank you,
Good night,
Marietta.
and thank you,
Good night.
Mariette.
Thank you, Dr. Chris.
The Business Champion Show was broadcast live from the Vital Voices studio in Westport, Connecticut, proudly empowered by KES Educational Services, Inc. Explore our mission to educate, empower, and uplift at www.kmareducation.org, where knowledge meets purpose. Discover stories of resilience and leadership at thebusinesschampion.com, celebrating those who rise, lead, and inspire. And for thoughtful insights on wellness, mindset, and conscious living, visit thehealingmindmagazine.com, fuel for the heart and mind.